Sorry it's taken so long. We're back. One of the things I'm teaching my students this week, some of them, they're in, everybody has different levels of learning. So I never take all the students and expect all of them to get all the information. You're the same out there. You're not going to get all the information. That's why I always strongly encourage you, pause it, look at it. I had somebody, I was doing a color something one time, and they said the cameraman could have gotten closer because they really couldn't tell on the application. Well, that immediately let me know that was possibly a non-stylist, because most stylists do know how to apply color. It was on a color. At least they've gone through it, or students have gone through it at one time or another, and application is important to learn. I will be doing a video later on. I'm going to lighten hair and then maybe take it darker so you can really see it. Or I may just get a dark-haired one and put lightener on it, because a lightener on brown hair, especially if it's white lightener, is very clear to see. But one thing that I want to teach you today, and I don't want to show you, I want to teach you. Please understand the difference. I see a lot of videos where they show you how to do a razor cut, but there's so many things that are missing, and the only reason, I'm not saying they're wrong, okay? They're not wrong. That's, you teach what you've learned and how you've been taught. The school that I went to over 50 years ago, we were not allowed to use shears. Every haircut we did was done with a razor. There was nothing that was the bangs, everything we did, razor. I didn't learn how to shear cut, and it was amazing how much easier it was until after I got out of school. I thought, you just use a razor, and that's part of it. And in those days, of course, we didn't, it was women, men, totally separate. Now it's really coming together. So the more you can learn about razor cutting and about the razor, it becomes extremely important. Go back. Now, this is a whole lot of information. But one of the things that I always say is know where you're at to know where you're going. If you don't know that you're in the temporal or flat part of the head, because flat and round are two variables on what and how you're going to cut for result. No cut is wrong if the client leaves happy, if the client comes back to you, all right? There's intricacies that we teach in hair cutting. We teach the 180, we teach the uniform layer, we teach the zero elevation, we teach those slight layerings up off the frontal. We teach the A-line, which is a graduated off the back, but do you graduate it off the front? And I've got all those videos out there. How do you do the V-cut? And then just kind of clean it up. And there's a lot of whys. So I went ahead and took this white mannequin so you can see, or white head form, so you can kind of see the lines of the head. Now, one thing, I did have a student this weekend. On Saturdays, my students get to bring in models because I'm the beginning class. And I just feel like, they've got to learn. They've got to know what it's like to work on a real head. So they'll bring in models, and one of the security guys came in and got his hair cut. And I asked the student, it was one of the cousins or a boyfriend or somebody that came in. This was another guy. We did do something with the security guard, though. I mean, he really did. He learned how to do a lot, fade up at the upper ridge. And again, what do I say? I can say, take it up to here, and every one of us would have a different here. But if you know exactly where the upper ridge is at, that is where, and let me show you with this, the comb leaves the head. See where that arrow ends? Right there where the comb leaves the head. So that is the lower ridge. This is the upper ridge, again, where the comb off the parietal line leaves the head. So we know exactly where, I hope you, did they see it, cameraman? Okay. The apex, the highest part of the head. Now, a lot of people don't talk a lot about the vertex, all right? The vertex is your center portion for the mohawk. A lot of people don't talk about the area inside the nape that falls right back behind the ear where what's there? Cowlicks. These are all factors, especially when you start going shorter, or if you want to do a straight bob and then they've got that strong lift. Looks good when they leave because you blow dried it in. When they go home, somebody says, why is one side shorter? These are things that you need to be aware of. These are things that you need to know. So anyways, I'm just going to leave that alone for now. Can you see this on this side, cameraman? As far as, do I need to move I hope the whole thing doesn't fall off. Can you see these
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
sketches? Okay. All right. Now, one thing that we do in razor cutting, in any hair cutting, we don't usually use the terms, but many times you're going to hear the 45 degree and the 90. Common term. 180, common term. 135 is the 45 going upward. It's the only difference. The only thing is where are you on the head form? When you're at the center occipital, you can see it. That's a 0. No elevation, or some places call it projection. And the 180 is straight up. The 180 is recognized as like if it's the flat top, basically is what it is. If you do it on really long hair, you can't ask your model to do it for you, but that's another haircut. Look it up. A to Z Cosmetology 180 haircut. It's termed 180. The 180 is only along the parietal line and anything below it. The rest of it is an extreme variable if you want extreme detailed hair cutting. But I want you to notice at the crown. Would this really be a 180 off the crown? This would definitely be a 90 because it's straight out from where it grows. Now let's look at the nape. We know that it's a 90 up from where it grows, but what does it visually look like? It looks like a 45 degree. So these are the intricacies about hair cutting. The details, after a while, and I stress it again, know where you're at to know where you're going. It becomes comfortable to you once you understand the entire concept of hair cutting. I believe there's 13, 14 points to the head form if you want to get really, really detailed. Some people call this area here, well, let me show it to you on the mannequin. Some people show on this head form, they call this the crest. Well, how big is the crest? Take it up to the crest. Okay, some of us are going to take it here, 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 here. Okay, where is the crest? Where does it start? Where does it end? The parietal line, we know, I mean, normally this comes up a little higher, but it's off your bang area. That's your parietal line. Just measure it from there. Now, some people that recede back, especially people that have traction alopecia, which is from tight braids, and the forehead kind of recedes back, okay, that's where you got to be careful. How do we find the parietal line? You take a comb. I'm going to show you with a couple of combs. I'm going to try and show you. I'm going to hold it like this. Okay, you take a comb, hold it there. Oh, we're slipping. Take a comb, hold it there. That point is your parietal line. That corner comes down. So again, do you want exact? There you are. Okay, and the parietal line goes horizontally across a straight line. If you hold your comb straight, it will do it for you. Even if you hold it in this form, make sure that it's straight as you travel around the head form. Does it have to be perfect? No. That's the curve of the head. You're going to have a slight variable there anyways. Can you see it when it falls down? No. So as long as it's even on both sides. Okay, so what I want to show you about the razor, oops, let me get rid of this thing because it's going to drive me crazy. There you go. All right, what I want to show you about the razor, and I'm going to be doing a razor cut today. There is a difference between razor and shear cutting. The razor is going to flip it out. You're going to have some really pointy ends. If ever you see a woman with a short haircut and you see it blunt, should have been done with a razor, or there's another term called sculpting. And it's a sculpture cut with the razor. And you're sculpting, you're carving in to get rid of those blunt edges and creating slight corners in them. But what I want to talk to you about and show you right now, this is normally the razor that you're going to get at school. Some people get, I don't have one, I thought I did. I may have it somewhere with my tools and stuff. But it's a razor that's got a little tang on the end of it. As a matter of fact, if you try and imagine this without the thumb grip, the razor comes out in this form and it's got a tang on the end for your little finger. Okay, and some of you may have those if it's students watching this or whatever, but normally a student, and many times is given this. I'm going to bring it out. You have to be very careful with this razor. The razor is sharp. It's a very sharp tool. And what happens many times, And it's not wrong. Again, it's methods that are taught. I was taught this way. It took me years later that I realized, you know what, that's not very wise. That's when I started with my Tondeo blade, okay? And I learned that through Roffler, and Roffler now is kind of fizzled out a bit. It's too bad because it was a really, really good program they used to have. It was a Roffler product, Barber product, all of that stuff. But then it came into the salons, and you know, just like everything else, it kind of comes and goes. But that's how I got my Tondeo blade. These are going to run you a whole lot of money, all right? These run, I've seen them up to $7. I mean, $70. Sometimes you can find it for 40 on Amazon or whatever, but Tondaeo, I believe it's how it's spelled. Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you, the book's out. Trust your PhD stylist, please. It's all about us. It's all about salons, what happens in the salon, what we're thinking, what we're feeling with clients. If you wonder what your stylist is thinking, please read the book. We're no different than doctors. We just work the outside. All the evidence of what we do, we don't let, well, I don't know, I have left a client with a clippy or something on the head when they left. But doctors, you know, have been known time or sometimes to leave a little tool inside your body. However, with the clippy, you just take it out. You don't have to do resurgery. But we're right next to the medical field as far as what we learn about the human body. But do we talk about it? No. We talk about how we're going to cut your hair. We're going to talk about how you're going to look afterwards. Kind of almost like, what do you call those guys? Dermatologist or skin doctor, you know, facelifts and all that stuff. Okay, let's go back to business. But anyways, trust your PhD stylist. Google it, you'll see it. There's many ways you can get it. The last chapter is for you. The last chapter is everything about hair color. You will gain some knowledge about hair color that it's never occurred to you before. Because companies, what they want you to have tunnel vision only on their product, and that's business, it's not personal. But this tells you the truth about color, everything about it, how it's combined, what decisions are you going to make, what are the strengths there, what are the resistance levels, and there's a lot to learn there. So I strongly recommend, you know, look into that book, and I hope you enjoy it. Oh, by the way, one more thing, a couple of misspelled words. Last chapter kind of upset me a little bit because I'm not even going to go into it. But anyways, the Susan is Jewel and Jewel is Susan. It's the same person. It tells you about the heart of a stylist, the true heart of what we hear and what we experience behind the chair, and possibly what we don't say. All right, so kind of think about it. Okay, so I want to talk about this razor. And cameraman, if you could bring the camera down to my, I hope you can see everything here. Some of you might have some of these razors right here, where it's got a blade, and I don't care for these. These are more of a shaving blade. You put 2 of them in there. They're a little sketchy to take apart and stuff, so it's not bad if you're comfortable with it. What they have here is just like the clipper. One side of the razor blade is inverted in a bit, in other words, more comb. The comb kind of goes into the hair. And this is good for texturizing, however, this end of it. The other end is more for cutting. The thing about the comb in there, you're not going to get cut. You see that? It's not going to cut you. The thing about this blade, you have to be careful when you take what's called the comb out. The one thing to remember is that with this blade, the comb blade, this portion of it always faces you. This portion of it faces the hair or the client. Now, when you're told to hold these, many times been told to hold it in this form. Now imagine the face right here. That's the client's face, and you're cutting close to the face. Okay, do you see why I don't like to do that? You're cutting, it's going to make it a little bit harder. So my recommendation is always hold your blade in this form when you're learning to cut. You can develop techniques later. I mean, somebody's going to say, oh no, we can do it, that works. Then do it. I'm not discouraging you to do it, but when you're learning, these are factors where you have to be careful. Have I used my blade like this? Yes, I have. Do I have to? No. My thing is, and you're going to understand why in just a few minutes, make sure that I'm getting this, cameraman, is when you take this comb out, this thing swivels. All right? it's going to swivel one way or the other. Now it's catching right there, but not all of them catch. Some of them are really loose. Okay, you notice I didn't push it down. Don't develop those habits because you may forget that that isn't there. All right, you're going to take it from the back, okay? You're going to pull it forward. Now, always clean it on a dry surface. That's why I always have my towels on the side, because this is what I'm doing many times with my tondeo. That's what I use all the time. Okay, so you see the blade there. Some of you have this little tang thing. If it doesn't push up, then what you do, you tap it on a corner. Always hold it away from you. These are all safety things. Don't be foolish, all right? Hold it away from you, tap it out. Once you get it out about that far, then you're going to hold the back of it. Make sure you're holding that tang, that it's not going to bend one way or the other. The blade has no brains. You do. That blade will come down and cut you. So you have to be careful about it. Hold the back, pull it out, all right? You would then get your new blade. There's a little box of blades that you can buy. They look like they're, you just open it up. I have one somewhere, but I'm not going to worry about it right now. Anyways, be careful how you open it. Hold the back of it. Take note of where this part of it is and where the sharp edge is. All right? So then you're going to place it back in. Oh, and by the way, all those blades, throw them in a safe place. If you put them in a garbage can, they easily cut through plastic. So put them in a good grief. If you have a jar or something that you're going to throw away, put them in that. Especially if you're doing hair at home or whatever, and your first time razor. All right, so I'm going to hold this, and usually, I'll tap it until it goes back in. And like I said, I learned on a razor. I'm a master razor cutter, and I still take precautions with this. All right, now the comb, again, you're going to insert it, and be very careful. Again, holding this tightly so it does not move. And then I'm going to just take my little pick and hit it in, and it's there. Okay, that keeps it safe. That keeps that blade away from you. All right, now I'm going to share something with you. With my tondeo, the blade is exposed all the time. Now like I said, I've been razor cutting from day one. I learned as an infant in beauty school. So the respect for the razor is extreme. How do I hold my razor? I hold it like this. And that's how I pivot it to cut. It pivots around my thumb. Do I ever hold it in this form like I'm going to tell you to hold this blade? Because this is the blade I'm going to be doing the cut with, not the tondeo. So yeah, I do, many times. Do I ever bring it up to pop it up and cut? Yes, I do. Those are all methods in hair cutting. So the main thing is, with the razor, always keep it closed when you're not using it. If you're going to palm it, close it, palm it. Don't palm it, all right? Close it, palm it. Very, very important. You don't want to cut yourself with a razor. All right, so normally this is what I'll use as my tondeo. I'm not going to do that today, but I'm going to share something with you. A while back I did a video, and I didn't have one of these. Let's see, who did this belong to? It belonged to somebody named Martin at one time. I didn't have one of these, couldn't find it, and didn't want to use my tondeo, and I had to teach the students how to razor cut, and they didn't have their tools, which happens many times at the school that I'm at. So, how many of you recognize this little honey? Yeah. Many of the women, and it scares me because, and I tell my students, I can't believe you do that, use it on the thinnest part of their skin. That's the thinnest part in your entire body is your eyebrows. You could hiccup. You could sneeze. Person could hiccup that's doing it. They're nice, but they have no guard. It is an exposed razor, just like my tondeo. But is it sharp enough to cut hair? Yes, it is. So when you're in a desperate situation, you can use these. I got them at the Dollar Tree. And do I advertise a Dollar Tree for salon supplies? No. But the students needed them, and I thought, well, this is one way to at least take them through the stroking method. What I do like about it is you do have to hold it in this form, all right? So the biggest thing about razor cutting, so let's get into the nitty gritty on how I'm going to teach you razor hair cutting. The biggest thing about razor hair cutting is the hair needs to be very wet. That cuticle is a hard surface. That cuticle, if ever, that's where I kind of worry. You might see some videos on, I'm going to use this comb, and if it gets in the way, I'll get a smaller comb. I've seen artists, and nothing against the artists, but I see them slide cut with a shear. If you're not opening and closing that shear just a little bit, that cuticle is dry and you're scattering the cuticle. The cuticle, by the way, is the outer layer of the hair. It's a transparent surface, and it comes, I think, I get different responses on this, but it's, I think, 7 to 9, maybe 7 to 12 layers, and they're like fish scale. They lay on top of each other, but it's a dry surface. So when you scrape it like that, it's going to scatter it a bit, causing a little bit of, makes it look like they're fried ends. Wet the hair first if you're going to do that. It's softer, it lays better. And again, that's a personal opinion. Is the other way wrong? No. What do you want as an effect? The result is what you want. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm starting at the lower nape. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, see, is my mannequin going to go forward? Yeah. Let me get her to go forward. There she goes. All right, so I'm going to bring her forward. And I'm going to turn her just a little bit for you to see. Now keep in mind, I am at an angle. Your razor, when it approaches the hair, it approaches at a 45 or 135 degree angle. Never this. If you approach it in this form, you're going to scrape that cuticle. It's not going to cut, and you wonder what's happening here. Why am I having to press so hard? If you have it at either angle, 45 or 135 degree angle. Get a protractor there at the dollar store, all right? You can look at the angles. Once you get used to visually seeing this or knowing it, you don't need that anymore. Okay, it becomes knowledge. It becomes, again, knowing where you're at to know where you're going. So I'm going to open this up. I'm going to hold this the way I want you to hold it. I'm not going to hold it the way I normally hold my razor. You're learning. You need to learn correctly. So I've seen others, they go in and they have a razor cutting class, and then immediately they start stroking straight down. Never saying that they're holding it at an angle, so I want to make sure you get that. What you've got to learn to do when you're learning razor cutting, is this going to create a straight line? Yes. But it's also going to put that edge, again, if you're watching my videos, and you've seen my other video that I did on using that tool on razor cutting, you're going to see that it's going to put that curve on this side. It's going to lay it down more. When we put the curve off to the side, which you should do, it teaches you more about creating a straight line with the razor. Now, when you come in to razor cut, I'm going to hold this very centerpiece. I'm going to bring this over just for you to see it. I'm going to take a little bit more. Okay, I'm holding it at an angle, but do you see where the razor itself is at a diagonal? It's not straight, it's at a diagonal as well. My finger, and I palm my comb, I'm going to get a smaller comb, that comb's too big to be doing this with. Okay, so take it, I'm going to bring this over, you see it? I'm going to determine the length that I want. I want it to be cut right here. So you have to look at it when you're doing a razor cut. So you don't chop, we're not chopping, we are stroking, stroke, stroke. Like little, you're making little A, but you're not making A. It's the same stroke. It's going to hit your finger every time. So you're going to bring it down, and I just taught this to my students this week. They've learned how to do razor cut. I'm going to tell you something. If you get this, as my students have, if you know what a uniform layer, they have done a complete uniform layer, getting accustomed to the razor, and it looks like they shear cut it. They held it out. I've been working with them on know where you're at, know where you're going, know where you're at, know where you're going. I'm teaching you this class. I'm not showing you this class, all right? So you're going to take it. You're going to hold it straight down. Now, you want to hold it with tension. You want to hold that here where it ain't moving out of your fingers because you're going to be stroking. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to stroke, 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 stroke. Now, let me share something with you. If you find that that center portion is not cutting, that center portion, you always dry your razor. I'm bringing it down. I'm just drying it on my towel. Okay. Then go to the top because that top hasn't been used. If you're just cutting at the center, yeah, that center is going to start getting a little dull. So we're going to go up a little higher. Stroke, stroke, stroke. I'm not chopping. I'm stroking. You only cut if you're going to cut to the second knuckle or to where you feel it just sliding off. Now I'm going to show you. You see the angle of the cut. Now do you see where it's gone down a bit? And that's because I'm at an angle, all right? I'm trying to teach you. Usually I stand right in front of what I cut, but if you get little scragglers, lay it there, bring it out towards you, and now we're back. Now is it a hard line straight? No. A razor is not going to give you a hard line straight. You're stroking. You're taking an edge off. All right, this last hair here is going to be the guide for this side. There's a difference. When I cut, and I'm going to close my razor before I do this. When I cut on this side, I'm using that as a guide. That last hair cut, right? There it is. Stroke, stroke, stroke. Now remember, I'm used to doing this. Do it slow. Do it very slow. Okay, there it is. Do I have a little tang there? Yeah, but not bad. Okay. Now I know you can't see this as clearly as I want you to, but I'm definitely standing in front of it. I will turn the mannequin in a minute. And every time I stroke, it's hitting my finger. All right? So the only thing that I'm not doing is taking it up higher. I'm taking the same stroke. So I'm going to come here. That became my guide. Stroke, stroke, stroke. Okay, do I want that there? No, let's get it off. Okay, so I wasn't going to bother stroking. Now I'm going to bring the mannequin around for you to see that line. So watch your stroke pattern. That's what you're going to practice. Do it on a mannequin first. All right, now I'm going to turn it around. And this side, and it's always just a little different, all right? This side, there's my guide.
2
Now,
minutes.
I have 2 minutes? Okay. I'm coming to my guide. Now, what you're not going to notice, but we are going to click off for a minute so I can show you how to do it vertically. So as soon as my cameraman tells me, okay, now I'm going to come here. Do you see how I'm coming to it now? Before I went away from it, now I'm coming to it. And so is that the same as hair cutting? Yes, it's the exact same thing, just using a different tool. Okay, right there. You notice I'm not making circles, I'm stroking. That little tang. Okay. Close my razor. It's time.
Go.
Okay, so we wanted to show you that. So now you can see. Now what I would do as well is I would bring the hair down. I'm sorry but you see that's even. I hope it's even. Hang on a minute. Yeah, we're even. Okay, so I would go ahead and bring, the thing about razor work too, it's much thinner. You're going to be doing it much thinner than shear cutting. See how I cannot see my guide? So I'm going to section this off a bit so that I can see my guide. I can see the hair underneath that I need to cut, and I'm parting it off horizontally. And as you can see the hair that's underneath. Now I could have kept this down or I could bring it up, but I'm bringing it up for you to be able to see it just a little better. So I can see my guide under there. So my guide now, I can start anywhere. And once I run out of hair, okay, I want to prove something to you. Remember this? Hold it the same way. You'll hear it. It's not as sharp, so you might hear that stroking. What's the difference? No difference. It's a sharp tool. Want to get rid of that edge? It's a good practicing tool if you don't want to use a razor. If you're, but my thing is, please don't use it on your skin, on your eyebrows. Tweeze those off, wax it off, something else. Okay, so I'm going to take this hair down a little bit more. I'm going to go ahead and use my regular razor. I just wanted to kind of demonstrate that to you, that it's sharp enough to cut hair like that. It's sharp enough to cut your skin. So let me bring this around. Okay, again, I'm just going to do this quickly now. I have a little tang there. Look at that. Bring it towards me, just straight like that. It'll come right out. I'm just following my guide now, giving it just a little bit slight, just a slight, as you can see, elevation. In other words, pulling it out a bit towards me. And all right, so now I'm going to part this off. What I want to show you, I want to get to the point where I'm going to start doing it vertically for you to see it. Okay, there's very little hair that needs to be cut here. Not a lot. And you see that that's coming out pretty even. See, we're just following the line. Let me bring this around so I can see it. And when you start hearing it a lot, that's where you need to add more water. You can hear the dryness of that cuticle. So always wet it down again. When you hear that scratch, 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 it's exactly what it's doing. It's scratching that cuticle there. So then I'm going to bring this down. There's no more hair to cut. I would then match up the sides. Now, I'm going to do the sides real quick because I want to show you how to do the top, and then I want to, well, actually I'm going to start doing it vertically, then I'm going to show you how to do the top. So we're going to start moving quickly. Please pause it, look at it. All I'm doing, this is not just repetitive motion. It's not different. See, I can see those little long ends? Okay. Drop the sides. And this time, where are we traveling? We're traveling to it, not away from it. There you go. To it, not away from it. Okay. And those are just simple things. See, when she's crooked, okay. No, we're all right. We're even. Got a slight corner here, but I'm not going to worry about it. Because you're going to see that corner's going to go away in a minute. Okay, so now I'm just going to part the hair down the center. I'm going to start on this side. Or if it's simpler for you, take that mid-occipital area. Now, what am I doing wrong, right? Close it. And I thought I was perfect. It's always a disappointment, isn't it? All right, so I'm going to start at the center. And that hair at... And you want to do like maybe 1/2 inch partings when you're first starting. So see, that's about a 1/2 inch right there. That's about a 1/2 inch parting there. So I'm going to hold it like this because I want you to see the stroking. And I know my mannequin isn't all the way down, so I hope it doesn't fall down. Okay, now 90 degree from where it grows. All right, 90 degree. This is that inverted part of the head. Again, holding it at an angle and diagonal to what I'm cutting. Holding it straight out. And now stroking up. Get your guide. It takes a little more. Stroke up. Stroke. Don't do this. This. Kind of like you're scratching it. But let me wet it down again because I can hear that off the top there. So it's very important that the hair be very wet. And a while back, I showed you the different angles to razor cutting. I have another video, and I am traveling around the head. I know it doesn't look like I am. I hope you can see it. Again, I'm going underneath. Now this is going into it vertically. All right? I'm going to travel a little bit more here. And there's my guide. Now you're going to be holding it like this. I'm sorry that I'm being a master razor cutter. You just kind of do things naturally. You see that kind of cup under a little bit as I do that? Did you see what I just did? I didn't teach you that, did I? Place it, make the letter J. The letter J. It's the same thing that gets rid of, see the scragglers? Gets rid of the scragglers. Make the letter J. Come up into it. Now, do you see how that goes under? Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to come down to my guide. This takes practice, okay? This isn't something you just do. So I want to come down to my guide. So where am I going to cut? See, I've got my angle at my fingers, but I want you to see the difference. This is going to pop out a little more. This goes under. Do you see the movement? So those are the two variables. A lot of people think they can just do this and do that. No. What do you want? Do you want more choppy, movable layers, or do you want it to calm down? Look at that go under. Look at this pop up. I'm not doing anything different on either one. This way, shorter moves longer. This way, shorter moves longer. The shorter on this makes it, on a razor work, makes it pop out more. So I'm going to come to the side. I'm going to show you another method that I've seen used. Is it wrong? No, it's not wrong. It's your knowledge about hair cutting is where it becomes extreme. Okay, I've seen other people do this with the razor. Is that wrong? No. But again, it's stroking a bunch of hairs. Now, there, see, I put the edge now on the back of it. I need to put the edge in the front just as the rest of it. So think about what you're doing. Now, do you see, again, now it just kind of lays down. Flat part of the head, rounded, inverted part of the head. All right, I'm going to bring this down. Take this off the same way. So all of these factors, and what this does is this separates you from different, stylists, different people that cut hair. It gives you that. Now see? Okay, now the other side, again, I'm going to cut it a little bit differently. Yep, okay, Pearl, see, bad habits. Well, sorry. All right, so I'm going to cut it a little differently. There's a lot on this video, you guys, so, take a break if you need to, come back to me if you need to, but get this information. Okay, so here, all I'm going to do is this. Oops, hang on, let me tighten this up. Create that straight line, and I have seen people do this. I used to work with a testing organization, and that is what these students were taught about razor work. Let me tighten that up because the mannequin keeps moving. Oops, do it again, Pearl. I don't want her to move when I do this. See, I'm placing it on my fingers. I'm just cutting straight across. And again, you see that that motion is just a little different here than it is here. You see how that pops out? You see how this does not? It lays closer together. So these are all factors in razor cutting. I want to teach you. I don't want to show you. Okay, so I'm going to bring this. Oops. Hold it with my foot there. It's like pressing a gas pedal. And then again, not a lot of movement. So what is it that you want? Remember, this side, we went up. This side, we went down. So when you do that, what do you want? So I'm going to bring my mannequin down a bit because I want to show you how to do the upper occipital into the parietal line. Can you see that, cameraman?
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm just going to stroke it in one direction because the other thing I want to show you is writing that parietal line. So there's my guide, right? You see it? I'm just going to go underneath. I'm not going to worry about it. Straight up. I'm just doing this really quick. Why? Because I know how. But I want you to take your time. See, my stroke is the same. Do you see where that's all cut? I'm going to take these two, and you see that it's, okay, let me get rid of that corner, sorry. I want to show you that it's even. And they always tell you, this is what's funny, they tell you to check it. There you go. See, is it a perfect hard line? No, there's a little tang right there. But again, we're coming around the corner of the head. And there's your Y on that, by the way. When you're coming around a corner, here she comes, yeah. When you're coming around the corner, you're going to have stuff like that, little corners as well, because it is a corner. This is slightly fat, this is flat, this is a curve. So you're going to have that. So I'm just taking it now because I want to show you, and I'm taking it 90 from where it grows. I could see my guide on the other side, by the way. You're thinking I'm just cutting to cut. No, I have a guide that I'm looking at as I do this. Okay? And that's what you get. This is going to be a uniform layer, by the way. Traveling around it. Got my guide along the... Does it look like I'm stroking a little more? Yeah. But I'm not. I'm up. It looks like I'm stroking more because you see me on the side of the head. My stroke pattern is the same. Okay. So you see that cut. So can you tell now the difference between the two? No, because I covered it up. Pretty much. Okay, so when you get ready to do the top, what you're going to do, let me dry my blade a bit before I close it, you're going to part it down the center. Like I said, this is a lot, so if you need to take a break. One thing I want you guys to know, the nose is your guide for that center part. That's your guide. And you just kind of pick it up, you take it to the end of the apex, that's the natural fall. After the apex, it falls into the crown. And that's a natural fall into the crown. See, I can shake it, and it does that anyways. So when you have a client, when you have a client and you're doing this, you want, of course the client's going to be sitting down, okay? You have to know where the parietal line is at. You can kind of see that heaviness there. What I'm going to have my client do right now is I'm going to have her shift her head to the side just a bit. Just a bit, not a whole lot. Okay, let me loosen this. Right there, not a whole lot. I just say, could you just, put your head like that for a minute? Okay, let me tighten this, I think. I hope it's righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. All right, I'm going to start back where the flat part ends, right here. All right, I'm going to push that back. This is the parietal line. I'm taking it to, taking my guide. Let me find my guide off the bottom. There it is. Okay, to the parietal line only. So that means that hair at the center apex is traveling out just a little further. Okay, let's find the guide. There it is. And for you just starting, you notice I'm holding it with my fingertips. Do continue holding it in this form. So I'm writing the parietal line. There's my guide. and I'm holding it back away from the face. Let me get underneath it. It's harder when I'm not standing directly in front of it. I'm trying to show you this, and I know you saw the blade move forward a little bit. Okay, close this again. How much time do I have, cameraman?
14 minutes.
14 minutes. Okay, we're okay for a little bit. But you see the difference. You see the choppy. All right? Now I'm going to go to the other side. Normally what I do is I start at the back. This is the problem with this, is because I'm starting from the back, my curve is coming in this direction, where on the other side the curve came in the opposite direction. So what I do, find my guide and cut into it so that the curve is in the same direction. Now this is part of precision haircutting. Okay, ride that parietal line, find that guide, there it is, and cut into it. All right, now I'm going to travel around into the crown, right here. This is my focal point. I'm going to pivot or pie shape as I do it. That's the secret. So on this side, there you see my guide fall down. I see it. Still stay in my mannequin. Can you hear that? Scratch, 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 scratch. That means get it wet, or I'll just quit messing around. So part of you learning how to razor cut, again, is how do you handle your razor? How do you see it? Okay, there's the center. There's my guide, just fell down, and isn't that strange? There's not as much hair to cut at that center crown. Why? Because it is rounded. There is your why on that. Okay, so now I'm going to come back over to the frontal fringe here. I'm going to bring it up to the parietal line. Get that hair up there so I can see it. Why am I not getting as much? Because I'm not standing in front of it. Either way, see that corner? Get that off of there. Either way, the stroke is the same. How important is it? Just depends on how much movement you want. Now, here's another thing I could have done. Could have gone in this form, and then this would lay down more, and I wouldn't have all that scattered. This is your why. Now, and you see that's even. Just get rid of that. Now, what we're going to have, when hair travels, it becomes longer. This hair at the center part has traveled this way, and it's traveled straight up from a 180 that we did before. Okay, now you do a process called peeling. Take it, and you're going to place your razor right at your finger, and you're going to peel that corner, and you will have a corner. I still see a corner off that parietal line, yeah. I've got some hair right there. Again, when I'm not standing in front of it, I can't see it. Okay, and this blade does not work as good as my tondeo, because the tondeo takes it right off. But with you learning, I'd rather see you take more time and work it. And then those little longer pieces, do they make a difference? Can you see them? No. That's the good part about it. Once it falls down on the head form, you see the corner. There it is. That hair traveled. Okay, I'm going to take the corner here. How much time do I have, cameraman?
9 minutes.
9 minutes, okay. Another thing you could do, you could pull it back, take it off. Pull it back towards you, stand behind the client, and take it off. Okay. So you see that in razor cutting, We ended up with a little bit of a mullet because we did a uniform layer. Now, one thing I want to show you, let's say that she wants the bangs to kind of cup around the face. You're going to pie shape it, and then you're going to bring it straight out. Now, this is a lot of hair. Do you see that corner right there? And do you see this longer piece? See the shorter piece? Longer piece, off the sides. Okay, I'm going to bring this out. I'm going to part it down the middle, just to make it a little less hair. And I'm going to take it straight out and cut it horizontally down. Take it to the center of the nose. Your nose is your guide. So I'm cutting this horizontally down all the way to the bottom. What I want you to see is how that's going to cup the face. I'm going to take the other half, bring it down to the center of the nose. Again, bringing it straight down. Got those little ones there. And this is, I'm not gonna slice it. I'm gonna keep carving into it instead of going in. So you see that nice little bang that it gives you, and it fits beautifully into the sides. It cups around the face, creates that roundness instead of the Dora look. So always wipe your blade afterwards. Take it off. You can see the hair. Wipe it. It's come off. You dry it, and it really does, I'm not trying to kill my client, it really does keep it softer. Now, one more thing I want to show you about razor cutting. I told you about the sculpture cutting. Oh, by the way, does that follow the head form? You see it? Rounded on top, flat side, flat side. All right, this is a uniform layer haircut with the razor. You can do it if you start from the bottom and go up. When you start from the top and go down, it's a whole lot more guesswork. One thing I wanted to show you was the method of sculpture cutting. And sculpture cutting, whenever you have little, like for instance, curly hair. Let's say you've got somebody with wavy or curly hair, and they don't like those little hairs sticking up. They tell you, you know, I just hate it when those hairs stick up. See how those hairs stick up? This was a razor cut. This was done with one of those little eyebrow things. Okay, so let's comb it back. Let's get it real soft. Now, I don't know if you can see this hard line here or not, but I know that you can definitely see all of these little peaks coming out. Okay, normally I do this with my Tondeo, but I'm going to do it again with this razor that you're used to, the one with the comb, whether it's got a little tang on the side or not, and doesn't fold, it still has a razor in it. I'm going to tilt your head forward, and what you're going to see is you're going to see those little hairs start laying down. Now you can hold it like this, but remember, you are spreading frosting and you don't want to have any lines, you don't want to have any dents. You want it to just lay and look pretty. Okay, so you see those little hairs. I'm going to take it, I'm going in at a 45 degree. You do not go straight on. You take it at a slight angle. You stroke gently, comb. Stroke gently, comb. See that circular motion? Stroke gently, comb. Take the hair out. And you can see that. I'm going to show you in just a minute how it does not. And I'm going to take it off to the side a bit. Stroke gently. You're also texturizing when you do this, by the way. And what you're doing is, see it? See how it lays in now? I mean, if I want it to pop out, it will. But it will now lay in real nice and start hugging that head form. I'm going to show you this side. See, it doesn't want to lay in. You can see all those choppy lines. I'm going to wet it down. And sometimes what you have to do, I'm going to show you another method. You want to remove some of that hair out of the way take your razor, gently stroke. Do not push. You're gently stroking. Okay, I want to get this little thing to go down. You're going to go down whether you want to or not. All right, let's take you this way, and then we'll make you go down. There, that's better. Now it's hugging a little more. And that's what you do. If it pops up, comb it in the opposite direction and gently stroke it. Years ago, they used to have hairstylists in the National Olympics. It's something of the past now. They don't have it anymore. But a friend of mine actually won the Olympics doing this method, and it was a man's haircut that he did. Okay, I'm gonna be raising my arm up a bit. I gotta hold it the way I want you to hold it, not the way I normally hold it. Gently stroke, clean the hair out. That's the only thing about these razors. Gently stroke, and now you see how that lays down.
3 minutes.
See how that, I can make it just kind of go in and just lay down and do what I want it to do. So you see all these little lines right there. So I'm going to quickly do this for you to see it. And I hope you've gotten something out of this video. Remember the book, please check into it. Trust your PhD stylist. Oh, by the way, professional hair designer. We're all PhDs once we get our license. Okay, I'm going to bring my elbow up. I'm going to stroke back. Take a little more hair. Stroke back. Take a little more hair. Stroke back. In other words, don't keep stroking that same area because, yeah, you're going to cut it all off. We're just wanting to take the ends. Now look at that laid down, much nicer. I'm going to mess it up, tousle it, and look at that just lays down. So people with curly hair, you want to change a motion on something. Kind of works like the texture shear. I also showed you on another haircut, some of the men's haircuts, on how to use your texture shear for control, as far as controlling. Now remember, you always pull it off from the back, clean the hair off on my towel, clean the comb off, bring it back, tap it in, hold it so that it doesn't fold on you. All right, I hope you've gotten something out of this. I hope you've learned about razor cutting. Remember, after a while, you just develop a visual on it. The things that you have to be careful of, even here, would be, of course, the cowlicks in the back and so on. If you want more on razor cutting, somebody wanted me to do a graduation, which would be an A-line in the back. That's coming up, and there's a variable on them, and I may even do an A-line on this to show you how you can do them real short and do them real long. Take care, guys. God bless. Hope to see you again. Hope you like this video. Learn razor cutting.